So the creators of the Dichotomy Test sent it to me and asked me to do it. And I noticed they've got a little subscribe to PewDiePie here, which you should all do, because I really want PewDiePie to win the contest of YouTube over some faceless Indian company, you know. I would rather find true love than be wealthy. Agree. I'd rather be given an expensive car than save the life of a starving child. Jesus. Who the hell would say yes to that? I'd rather receive money than gifts. Well, I agree, but, well, no, I'd probably rather a gift. But I'm not really very materialistic, so any gift that someone got me I would expect to be something personal rather than, you know, valuable. I'd rather be in a sexual relationship without intimacy than an intimate relationship without sex. Yeah, I agree. There is no inherent meaning to life. Well, I mean, life has the meaning that you imbue it with, I think. But I mean, if we were going to suggest what's the goal of humanity, it's to procreate. So, I mean, I'm just going to go agree. A world without colour is far darker than a world without order. A world without colour is darker than a world without order. I assume that when they mean darker, they mean less pleasant. I don't know. I mean, I think there should be order, but it shouldn't be tyrannical. But obviously I want colour in the world, so I'm going to go for neutral. Society will always need a strong authority. Well, yes. I believe in some form of spiritual afterlife. I'm afraid I don't. If I had to choose, I would save myself instead of a loved one. You know what? It's easy to say. Well, no, of course I'd save my loved one instead of myself. But you don't know until you're in that position, do you? But I mean, ideally, I would not prefer to save myself if it was over someone I loved. The ends usually justify the means. Well, it depends what the goal is. You know, if the goal is making a coffee and the means is putting a pot on a stove and rather than using the kettle. But I mean, if it's implement real communism and murder 100 million people along the way, the answer is no. Obviously, the answer is no. The ends have to be just to justify the means. I would rather live a life of personal pleasure than settle down and have children. Well, since I've settled down and had children, life is suffering and is fundamentally meaningless. Again, life isn't just suffering. You will suffer at some points, and some points will be exceptionally difficult. But there are points in your life that are exceptionally good, and I guess it's your job to try and make them the more common ones. But again, fundamentally meaningless, well, only if you don't have meaning in your life. You're the one who gives your life meaning. You know, you find things that you find meaning in. So no, I don't agree. When making a decision, the underlying reasoning is always more important than the consequences. No. Otherwise, socialism might be a good idea. The consequences are also important, but the method by which you reach these consequences is also important. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yes, I'm sure there are aliens out there, but you know, I'm still waiting for proof. Frankly, look, governments of the world, just show us the fucking aliens, alright? Look, it's been like 100 years. We're not going to flip out if we discover that there are aliens out there. No one's going to flip out. We're all going to get up and go to work the next day. That's what I'm saying. There is more to the world than mere material. Well, yes, obviously, there are non-material things that are important, like ideas and entertainment, that isn't necessarily just material things. But now you're making it sound like I'm for spirituality, and that's not what I'm trying to say there. But I'm going to have to agree anyway. Most people are inherently selfish. That's scientifically demonstrably provable. Everyone is selfish, to at least some degree. Come on. We should strive towards a utopian society. No, we shouldn't. We should strive towards a slightly better society than the one we had yesterday. And if we do that every day, then by degree, gradually, we'll have a better society at the end. Sometimes we must suffer in the present so we can have a better future. Yes, that's true. No actions are inherently moral or immoral. Oh, well, fuck off. Reason is more important than emotion. Well, yes, but, I mean, they're both very closely tied together. And, I mean, I don't know if you can have one without the other. Like, there are schools of thought that think all reason is effectively a rearguard action for our emotional decisions. But I do think that reason probably is more important. It's foolish to believe a claim that there is no evidence if there is no evidence to back it up. Agree. The evidence could be quite scant, it could be dubious, but at least it would be some kind of evidence. Mental well-being is more important to me than my material possessions. Yes. Selflessness is a virtue. Come at me, Rucker. Our society is fundamentally flawed and in need of radical reform. No, I don't think it is. I think it's pretty good, and we should generally, again, by degree, try and improve things. I prefer friendships that help me grow as a person as opposed to ones that are exciting. I don't see that as a dichotomy. I think that the ones that help me grow as a person are the exciting ones. But yes, I would prefer... the exciting ones might also be severely dysfunctional, so... There is an underlying morality in everything that we do. No. Some things are not moral or immoral. Some things are just... some things are just self-serving. Like, playing video game isn't moral or immoral, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't be free to do it, obviously, and it doesn't mean that there's no moral judgment contained within. Without music, life would be a mistake. Fucking get out of here with your stupid value judgment. There exists an omniscient, omnipotent, and absolute being. Consciousness is immaterial. It has to be. It's the product of the material form of your brain, but it is the consequence of more... There's some of the components creating something more than their own sum. But yes. You couldn't give me a pound of consciousness, could you? My own prosperity matters to me more than the happiness of those around me. Disagree. People who desire constant success must change their conduct with the times. Obviously true. It is virtuous to live a simple life without an abundance of physical comforts. No, because then, by that logic, surely that anyone who doesn't have an abundance of physical comforts is living a virtuous life, and that person might not be living a virtuous life. But you could say, it's not inherently virtuous or not virtuous, in my opinion, so disagree. We're all insignificant in the eyes of the universe. I hate this kind of question, right? Or statement, sorry. So, the universe is everything. Now, you can sit there and go, well, from the perspective like Alpha Centauri, everything's insignificant on Earth. Well, that's true. But another part of the universe is your own children. And to them, you're effectively God. So, again, it depends what you consider to be the eyes of the universe. But I don't agree. I think that, we decide what's significant. Society without marriage would be better than society without divorce. Disagree. Our society defines us, obviously. Spirit and matter are two separate entities. Spirit isn't really an entity, so disagree. But I know what you're trying to say. This is a Cartesian argument. It's kind of false, to be honest. I will usually put my family, my community, or my people above my own personal goals. Well, for the eyes of the universe, if I'm part of my family, my community, and my people, then my personal goals are part of the goals of my family, community, or people. So I don't even know if you can. It's a no. Usually my personal goals are not in conflict with my family, community, or people. Revolution is sometimes a benefit to society. Sometimes. People have the right to try and achieve as much pleasure as possible. Well, agree, but I don't think you should go, full hedonist or something. Life is despair. Oh, piss off. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Sounds like Plutarch. Human beings possess free will. Now, this is a good question, because, if there was an omniscient, omnipotent, eternal being, then they would, by being omniscient, they must know the location and trajectory of every atom, every energy wave, every single thing that could be perceived to be a thing in the entire universe. And whatever there is about the space between the things that we as humans can't perceive. If there's things there, that they must know all of this, right? And so once you know literally everything that could be known about the entire universe, you must be able to see that everything is the product of cause and effect. Because us saying, well, this was unexpected, is, not knowing what's going to happen, is because of a lack of information, not because something isn't predictable, in my mind, in my opinion. And so, technically, I think no one actually has free will. But it seems that if we start thinking and believing that we have no free will, things go badly for us. We start making poor decisions. We think it wasn't our decision and things like that. But as soon as we start thinking that we have free will, then we start making better decisions because we're more responsible for the decisions we make. So, but the thing is, that might not be part of your free will. That might be entirely predictable if you just had enough knowledge about like the atoms and the molecules and the pressures and the momentum of all of these things. All of this might be completely predictable. So it might be that we don't actually have free will. It's just that we don't have enough knowledge about the universe, and it looks like free will, and we feel like we're making decisions, but these decisions might have been inevitable given the confluence of circumstances that led up to the point at which we are at. So probably not, but we have to believe that we do. It's good to strive towards fame, wealth, and power. I wouldn't say it's good, but I wouldn't say it's bad either. These things are not a moral judgment, like a moral value. Fame is something that I think a lot of famous people wish they didn't have, and you can't just get rid of it. And I'm saying this as someone who gets recognised in the street occasionally. It's never bad. It's always nice, but like then you get people who, like when I went to Kent University, there are a few protesters. These are the downsides of these things. Wealth is always useful, obviously, but again, it's not good to strive towards wealth, but it's not bad to strive towards wealth either. And it's not good or bad to strive towards power. And with the power thing, a lot of people think, well, I mean, that sounds innately scary. No, I mean, if you, as a good person, decide that power is something that you shouldn't have as a virtue, then you're saying it's virtuous to be weak, which I don't think it is. And the only people who are going to strive towards power are the unvirtuous ones who you wouldn't want to have it. So either you, as a virtuous person, has power, or you cede the ground automatically to people who are bad. But what I'm saying is, it's neither. It's neither good nor bad. I would rather live alone in luxury than in poverty with friends and family. No. Societal progression should be carried out slowly in small incremental steps. Absolutely, that's the fundamental thing that I believe. Pleasure is the highest good. Don't agree. I don't care about morality. Fucking why? It's foolish to let your emotions influence your decisions. Okay, that's not true, right? And I don't think it's even possible to stop your emotions from influencing your decisions. The question is, are you going to be ruled by your emotions? Are you going to be carried away by them? Or are you going to, like if you find yourself in an emotional capacity and you have a decision to make, it's incumbent on you as the master of your own body, master of your own mind, to be aware of yourself making bad decisions even when you're in an emotional state. And if you are in an emotional state, either get control of yourself or be responsible enough to not make a decision at that point. Or if you absolutely have to make a decision that you don't necessarily want to make, but you know will end in a more beneficial way. So, I mean, I'm going to have to agree, but only technically. Nothing can be proven to be true. Oh, fucking hell. Right, okay, so the whole thing about postmodernism is that they believe that there is no real truth, right? Every truth is subjective because, and it goes way back to Descartes, like everything we know about the universe comes to us through our senses, and our senses are demonstrably subjective and vary between person to person. We don't necessarily all know that we're seeing the same shade of like blue or green or red or whatever, but since we're all identifying it, it seems that we have to kind of believe that again, even if we can't necessarily prove, because of the inherent flaws of the human body and the human condition, that this is demonstrable objective truth. But I mean, frankly, I think they're overthinking it.
A life of fame and fortune is more desirable to me than a happy and meaningful life. Disagree. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Yeah, but some people you meet are just dicks, aren't they? But yeah, I agree. The world of ideas is superior to the physical world. Well, getting back to it, can we even differentiate them really? But, I mean, yeah, it's more interesting. I mean, you need something to do. It's better to live a frugal life. Well, better than what? I mean, I say this, I'm actually quite a frugal person, but it's not because I necessarily feel it to be morally superior. I'm just not particularly materialistic. But I mean, I guess I would agree. Moral statements are statements of truth and fact more than they are statements of emotion and desire. Disagree. Scientific research is more important than art and music. Depends in the context, doesn't it? You know, if you sit down to see a play and they spout out a bunch of scientific research, it's a lot less important. But if you need to solve a problem... but yeah, I'm just going to go neutral on that one. I would rather live in a wealthy society with little to no morals than live in a poor society with morals and identity. Disagree. We should focus on the well-being of our community. Disagree. Focus on the well-being of yourself, and your community will be improved by one unit of it, one individual, you, yourself, being better than you were yesterday. Our ideas stem from reality. Of course, they can't stem from anywhere else. Our primary pursuit should be our own passions and pleasures. Well, again, I don't know if it's possible to even pursue anything else, really, but I guess a neutral? There is a distinction between good and bad that goes beyond mere human nature. Distinction between good and bad that goes beyond human nature, as if God is setting it. I don't know. I'm not... I would need more context to be able to give us any kind of certainty on that. The primary goal of humanity is the pursuit of knowledge. Well, no, the primary goal of humanity is reproduction. But the primary intellectual goal of humanity, you could say, is the pursuit of knowledge, which I guess I would agree with. Human beings possess a soul. Well, how are you defining soul? No, I don't think so. Individuals should always act in their self-interest. No, but they do always act in their self-interest. Come at me, Rucker, again. Each person has a function in society. Not necessarily true. I mean, we are supposed to... You decide your own function in society. So, there is a way to live that is morally ideal. Okay, literally every single human has that belief. It's just what counts as being moral differs from person to person. So, I mean, I guess I have to agree then? It is not wise to be affected by strong passions and fears. Yeah, I agree with that. The universe obeys natural and fundamental laws. Well, it certainly seems to. People cannot be truly altruistic. I actually agree with this. Inside every altruistic act is a selfish act, which again, I guess throws Rucker into a tizzy. Sorry, I don't know why I'm name dropping you so much in this one, man. You know, feel free to hit me up and call me a dick. Or make another response video to my boomer memes on Instagram. Dick. Lofty ideals such as justice and liberty are of great importance to me. Actually, they are. Authority must always be ridiculed. No, only when it's justified. Without faith in God, we cannot be content. Strongly disagree. Which God, anyway? Emotion cannot be discounted when making decisions. I actually agree. Even if your decision is specifically to offend someone and make them upset or play with their emotions or something like that, you have to count every potential ramification or factor in the decision-making process. And human emotions are one of them. And if you're setting out specifically to offend someone, I mean, you are specifically counting the emotions of those people that you are setting out to offend. So you shouldn't just ignore it, because they are something on which people will act, as in they're a facet of reality. And discounting facets of reality when making your decisions is probably not wise. But again, don't make the mistake of that being me saying, oh, but people's feelings are important and should be cherished and never hurt. Sometimes it's not bad to hurt people's feelings. Sometimes it needs to happen. We can never perceive true reality. Well, fuck me, what's true reality? I mean, if you're talking about like the atoms in the table, yeah, sure, we can't perceive those. We should help those who are struggling in our society. Yes, we should. We, the society, should. That is not necessarily the government's job, although sometimes it could be, depending on the circumstance. Oh, I'm basically a communist. Right. So, materialism versus spiritualism, just about 50-50, really. I would not think I was very spiritual or materialistic. I mean, well, like I would, yeah, I guess I would have thought I would be more materialistic, but I don't really care for things. Egoism versus altruism. I'm more altruistic, apparently. 50-50 on idealism versus pragmatism. I like to think of this as being a realist. I'm more ascetic, and I tell you what, Heinlein's done that to me. Fucking Heinlein is responsible for that. Nihilism versus moralism. I'm more moralist. I'm more rationalist than romanticist, and skeptic than absolutist. Well, that's interesting, and of course, I'll leave a link in the description and subscribe to PewDiePie.